Hey, you guys. Okay, is it just me, or has your order of chicken nuggets and fries gotten ridiculously expensive lately? I mean, I remember as a kid, you could get like a double cheeseburger combo meal for like $2. We really miss those days. But now we're basically paying $15 per entree at both fast food restaurants and sit-down restaurants. So today I want to talk about why fast food has gotten so expensive and how you can prepare for this change in your everyday life and in your budget. And stick around because I'm also sharing my favorite cheat meal on the go when I'm in a pinch. Okay, according to recent data from the U.S. inflation calculator, food prices have risen almost 26% since 2020. And as recently as August of 2022, the rate of inflation for food has reached the highest peak since 1979. And this includes the cost of foods that we buy ourselves at the grocery store and wholesale ingredients that restaurants use to make their menu items. And I don't know about you, but I definitely remember feeling shocked by how much essential costs go into the rising prices of everything during the pandemic. And it feels like ever since then, we've never really come back down to where we were pre-2020, which brings us to today, when not only are we feeling it in our weekly grocery budget, but also when we treat ourselves to a meal on the go, for convenience, if you know what I mean. Okay, before we get into some practical solutions for this, let's dig into the why behind this challenge so you can know more of what to expect when it comes to restaurants. So number one is the cost of labor. Minimum wage has steadily increased in many states over the years, so it ranges anywhere between the federal mandated $7.25 per hour all the way up to $17 an hour in DC. Now hear me out. We obviously want people paid well in the food service industry for sure. But if you're trying to grab a sandwich in New York or LA, that cost is going to show up in your bill if each employee is making almost $20 an hour. So whether you're eating in a fast food drive-thru or a sit-down restaurant, the cost of labor is a key part of this equation. Which brings me to the second factor behind the rising fast food costs. Number two, tipping culture. So if you know me at all, you've heard me probably talk about guilt tipping before. George Camel and myself, we've talked about it on our podcast, Smart Money Happy Hour. Because listen, I'm all about generosity, for sure. And I'm a great tipper. And tipping people fairly is something that, again, I think is needed. But it has gotten a little out of control recently. Where, again, that 15-20% at a sit-down nice restaurant, and you had a waiter who served you over an hour or two, like that's an experience, and we're gonna tip for that. But tipping 10% as you're standing at the counter getting your sub at Jersey Mike's, it's kind of like, oh my God. And people don't know what to do. It's one of the most awkward things right now in our culture. It's like, I feel bad not tipping, but also like, I'm standing here ordering food and I'm gonna be taking the food and walking away. So again, I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing with all of this tipping, but it's definitely a factor that you have to think about when it comes to your food budget. And it can get a little out of hand. I mean, 10% on a $12 meal every single day of the week, it's gonna add up. All right, number three, increased education about health. So increased access to technology and social media and news stories and articles. We now know more than ever about the food industry and how it really affects our health. And many people have made the decision to eat healthier because of this information. So whether it's going vegan or vegetarian, or you're eating only, organic meat or fruits and vegetables, when you're shopping at farmers markets or even, having your own chickens, all of this has now become the norm, you guys. That's how a lot of people now buy their foods. And so fast food restaurants have caught on to this trend, and they want to compete with restaurants and grocery stores. You think about Whole Foods and Sprouts because, again, it's really great quality food. And so now fast food companies are trying to match that. So instead of a million different versions of bacon cheeseburgers, they're now going to have veggie wraps and smoothies and salads. And they're offering a wider variety of menu items with more ingredients, which is great, but it also is going to cost more. So gluten-free and vegan and protein-rich alternatives require more effort, therefore a higher price tag. And like most things, popular food options naturally adjust with trends and demands of the time. Okay, now that we've covered the why behind the rising costs of fast food, let's talk about what we can realistically do to manage this. Because the truth is, like a lot of things in life, we have very little control over it. We have basically no control over the price of food. Just like when gas or eggs or used car prices spike, it is a bummer, not fun. But at the end of the day, it is our job to handle our money in such a way that we're able to adjust accordingly when it comes to necessities like this. And one thing that you can do, though, is utilize reward apps. So almost every fast food chain now has reward apps. And the Chick-fil-A app, one of my favorites, it will give you random rewards based on your location if you visit one regularly. It's pretty great. Now, not to be a party pooper, but there always is an option just to cut out food from restaurants entirely for a season of your life. And that, my friends, will save you a lot of money. So if fast food has gotten too expensive to squeeze into the budget, just say no for the time and then circle back once you have some more wiggle room in your budget. And another thing to keep in mind is that you always have full control over your monthly budget, and you have a decent amount of control over your income as well. So if you're making a good salary and you feel good about the money that you're bringing in, then the best thing that you can do is make sure that you're spending it wisely. And you want to be intentional with every dollar of that paycheck. That is why I highly recommend using a monthly budget to stay on track. And so if you have not downloaded Every Dollar, it's incredible, you guys. It's a budgeting app that helps you create a spending plan and customize it based on your specific needs, especially when it comes to food and your four walls, which is food, shelter, utilities, and transportation. And once you get in the habit of budgeting, it really does become easier to adjust and fluctuate when costs go up. And you can kind of decide, what categories go up and which ones go down. So if you're interested in that budget, make sure to check out everydollar.com/Rachel and get started today. You can build your own budget completely free. And trust me, it is such a game changer. Okay, now it's time to share my number one cheap meal on the go. Because if you knew me, I am not against fast food. I mean, you can give me a fast food restaurant. Give me a Wendy's, give me a Burger King, a McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, a Sonic, and I can tell you what I would order from each of those places. Even Taco Bell. I'm not mad at it. We don't do it a lot, but it's still pretty good. But I would say I'm a sandwich girl. So give me Schlotzsky's. I love a number one without black olives. So good. Or Firehouse Subs, the Italian. I mean, it's just the best. Delicious, delicious. But I do love some fast food. Not gonna lie. All right, for more food and grocery hacks, make sure to check out my episode on how to beat rising food costs. All right, guys, as always, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.